Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine with SEB Housing, and tonight I'm going to run the lottery for the 6 affordable single-family homes at Pine Ridge Estates in Uxbridge. And I'll get that lottery underway in just a few minutes. First, just wanted to give you some background information on who applied. And so if you have any questions during this meeting, you can either type them into the chat in the Zoom function, or you can unmute yourself. You should have seen when you came into the meeting, you were automatically muted. That's just to minimize any outside noise during the call. The meeting is being recorded. It is going to be available on SEB Housing's YouTube channel later on tonight for any applicants that were not able to join us for the drawing. So all of this information that I'm going to give you ahead of the drawing is going to be sent to you in a document with the waiting list after this meeting. So after I sort the results onto the waiting list, you're going to have kind of this background information about who applied. So everyone should already have a lottery application number. That's the number that's in the form of A dot, a series of numbers. So in this case, your number is between A dot 001 and A dot 045. If you don't have that number, if you forgot it, you can just let me know. That is what is going to be called tonight rather than a name to protect your privacy. So 6 affordable units, 45 completed applications were received. So there's going to be a total of 45 households in this lottery. All 6 of the homes are 4 bedrooms. So we have 22 type 4 households. So those are the larger households that will have priority on this waiting list. There's 22 type 4 households, 14 type 3 households, 4 type 2 households, and 5 type 1 households. So back when you completed your lottery application, you will have indicated on that application your household type, and we will have confirmed that in the email that was sent to you with your lottery application number. So again, the type 4 households are going to have priority on the over other household types on the waiting list, and that's because the affordable housing program is designed so that larger households, type 4 households in this case, will have priority because their family requires those that number of bedrooms, whereas smaller households might not actually require that much space. So there's also a local preference for these affordable homes. So if you answered yes to the local preference question on the lottery application, your lottery eligibility email should have confirmed that as well, and it would say something like you do qualify for local preference, or you did indicate you have local preference. So when that drawing takes place tonight, you're not going to know for certain where you are on the waiting list because I first need to sort the results from tonight according to those preferences. So by household type and also by local preference. So when I do complete the lottery drawing, I'm going to be using a website. I'm going to share my screen so you can see the results instantaneously. The website's called random.org. They have a feature on that website that's called the list randomizer, and it's just going to digitally randomize the application numbers that I enter in there. So I'll be doing that on the screen, like I said, and you'll be able to see the results. I'll share my screen in a minute just to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like. Before the drawing tonight, though, I do need to do a preliminary local preference minority drawing, which I'm going to start out with, just to give you some background information on what that is. So the reason for this drawing, this preliminary drawing, is because according to the Affordable Housing Program rules, the number of households who indicated that they're in a minority group in the local preference pool needs to be at least as high as the percentage of minorities in the surrounding area. So in this case, the Worcester area, I think the federal government publishes this percentage, but the Worcester area has a 28.2% minority population. There were 9 total households who qualified for local preference. Only one of those 9 households indicated on their lottery application that they belong to a minority group. 1 in 9 is only 11%, which is lower than that required 28.2%. So to start out, what I'm going to do is there's just going to be kind of like a mini drawing ahead of the lottery drawing. And I'm going to take the 21 households who indicated that they were part of a minority group. And one of those, as I mentioned, already is a local priority household. But I'm going to take 20 of the minority households, those lottery application numbers, and I'm going to randomize them. And the top 2 are going to be considered local preference households, although they don't actually qualify for local preference. And the reason for that is to get the total local preference pool to the required or above the required 28.2%. So the minority representation in that priority pool is what it needs to be. So what I'm going to do is there's going to be 3 total local preference households that will have priority. That's going to take us to 33.3%, which is greater than that 28.2 Worcester area minority percentage. So I know it's a little confusing because it's not part of the initial drawing, but hopefully it makes more sense when I'm doing it real time. So real quickly, I'm going to share my screen just so you can see what this drawing is going to look like. I'm going to go to random.org and I'm going to share my screen just to show you what it's going to look like. So this is a website, really basic looking website, but I'm going to use the list randomizer function. This is not the drawing. This is just a demonstration of what it's going to look like. So when I plug in the lottery application numbers in a few minutes, they're going to be in the form of a dot, a series of numbers. In this case, I'm just going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when I click randomize, it's going to spit out a random order of these numbers, and that's going to be the drawing. So again, this is just a demonstration, but I'm going to click randomize, and here's the results that it gave us. So in this case, if this were the drawing, the person with this lottery application number would have been drawn first for. So again, I'll come back in here in just a couple minutes when I do the actual drawing, and I'll share my screen again. There's a direct message here. Was the minority group section on the application optional? Yes. That was something that was optional for anyone to fill out because it's not a required field. But I think it said something like, I don't have it in front of me, but it said something like this: filling out this section may affect your placement on the waiting list or something of that sort. All right, so the order that random.org generates for the 2 drawings will allow us to properly sort the results onto the waiting list. And it's going to determine which households will get to reserve units initially. So it's important to remember that the order of tonight's drawing, like I said, is not the final order of the waiting list. I still have to sort them, which I will do soon after the call. So you won't be waiting around for those results for very long. So I'll send an email to everyone after this meeting with the attached waiting list and also the next steps on what to expect. When you receive that email, you're going to see that the top households on the waiting list are highlighted in green, or the application numbers are highlighted in green. And that's because those are the households that are going to be invited to immediately move forward in this process. And the next step in the process is to submit your income, asset, and tax documentation. Because remember, when you applied for the lottery, you only submitted the lottery application and your mortgage pre-approval. You didn't need to submit your verifying income documents. And SEB Housing will be inviting a total of 18 applicants to move forward in this process to submit your supporting documentation. You might wonder why we would invite 16 or 18 people forward when there's only 6 homes. And that's because we want to make sure that the process isn't delayed by us screening only the top 6 households from the waiting list. It is possible that just the very top 6 households are going to provide all of the necessary documentation that's needed, and they're going to eventually purchase the unit. If that ends up being the case, then there's going to be households who went through the process of submitting all of their income information into us, but they're not able to purchase one of the homes. But that doesn't usually happen. It's not, the top 6 or the top however many don't usually all necessarily successfully move forward for one reason or another. People have a change of heart, or they are not eligible after all, for example. So just keep in mind, if you're one of the households on the waiting list who is not moving forward after the drawing tonight because your application number is not highlighted in green, it doesn't necessarily mean that you won't be called forward in the future. So maybe those top 18 households didn't work out. We need to move on to the 19th or 20th. That could happen. And so just keep that in mind. So if you were one of the households to move forward in the process and be in the position where you're submitting the information to us, you'll have about 10 days to do so. And when you received your lottery application number, that email had a link to a documentation requirements guide. And that document sort of spelled out what supporting documentation you're going to need to submit to us, how many pay stubs, bank statements, that sort of thing. So hopefully you've been able to gather some of that. But if not, like I said, you'll have 10 days to get that to us, and we'll work with you to make sure you get a completed application in. If you don't have everything right off the bat in your first attempt to get documents to us, we will work with you through that. And so again, just want to let everyone know again that this lottery is an important, this lottery is an important step in the process. But even if you're one of the top households on the waiting list, you're not guaranteed purchasing one of these homes, because we first need to verify your income and assets. You also need to get your mortgage commitment, all of that. So also I wanted to mention before I do the drawing, this is the first drawing for affordable homes at Pine Ridge Estates. There is going to be an additional 4 affordable homes that will be made available at a later date. I don't know exactly when that second lottery will be held, but I'm assuming it will be sometime next year. And again, that's going to be additional 4 homes. Only one of those homes will have a local preference attached to it. And yeah, just keep that in mind as well. If you're still interested next year, you will want to continue to either check our website or ask us ask us to be on a kind of mailing list or a contact list for when that lottery takes place. Just another direct message here. How do I know if I answered the minority question? Will you be able to tell me today? Let me see if I can. Just give me 1 second here. I think we actually had a response for most people, at least on the spreadsheet that I had access to with everyone's application info. Give me 1 second. So you can't, there's another question that just came in, that's why I'm answering. You can't amend your application now that the application period is closed. Here. Just 1 more second. Apologize. One more second here. Okay. So yes, the other person here that's direct messaging me, unfortunately, I can't change your application information now, but yeah, sorry about that. All right, so I'm gonna click out of here, and then I'm going to run the drawing now. It's just gonna be well, actually, I have to first do that initial minority drawing, and then the actual general drawing. Any other questions before I start it? I'm going to share my screen again, like I said. All right, so let me get back to random.org, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do this first one here. Yep, another question. The minority drawing is only for households who were not local preference already, because the purpose of the minority drawing is to add applicants to the local preference. So if you are the one household who selected, yes, I'm part of a minority group and I'm also local preference, you're already going to be in the local priority. So yes, that is only going to be for those that selected yes. So another question here is a direct message. When is the move-in date if you're chosen? So there's still several steps that would need to happen after tonight's drawing, including obviously your submitting documentation to SEB Housing and all of that, and also getting your mortgage commitment and everything. So you will be selecting when your closing date will be and all of that with the bank and with the seller. But there's another question that's coming in, so I'm just going to go. I believe the homes are not currently ready, or at least not all of them will be, but one of them, I think the first home was going to be available this month, and then there's continuing to build from there. I believe that is the case. For local preference, someone asked how many people have local preference. There are 9 households total who qualify for local preference, indicated that they qualify for local preference. And hold on one moment here. Give me 1 second here. Also, I misspoke earlier. I'm going to be adding 3 households to the local preference list or group because we're going to have a total of 12 households. So 1 moment here. Okay. Okay, so yes, there's currently 9 people who indicated that they were local preference. There will be a total of 12 households that will have that local preference after I do this minority drawing. So the waiting list is the first top priority. So I'm going to share my screen again just to show you the information packet. So everybody's aware of the priority list and how I'm going to be sorting the results. So I'm going to share my screen again real quick. And this is page 14 of the information packet. So there's just one waiting list for this lottery. And as you can see, when I sort the results, what I'm going to be doing is the households that are both local preference and type 4 households are going to have first priority on the waiting list. The second priority is going to be households who are still type 4 and don't have local preference, because the size of your household has more weight than whether or not your local preference. And then it goes down from there. So third priority here is local preference households who are type 3, so larger households normally to smaller households, and whether or not your local preference. So this is how I'm sorting the results on the waiting list. just to give you an idea there. What's considered local preference, Worcester County or Uxbridge? Uxbridge residents only. Yep, so anyone who is, and you have to provide documentation confirming that later on in the process. So like when you're submitting your income information, you would need to submit a lease showing that you're living in Uxbridge or a utility bill to confirm your residency. Or not just residency, but if you work full-time within the town of Uxbridge or you have a child going to Uxbridge Public Schools. Those are the three qualifying categories for local preference. All right, so I'm going to go to random.org again now. And I'm going to share my screen again. And I'm going to do this minority drawing first. And what I'm doing is I'm going to take, this is a spreadsheet I have here with all the households who applied for this lottery, who indicated that they were part of a minority group, but were not already local preference. So there's 20 names here. It goes down to 21 on the spreadsheet because of the heading here. And I'm going to take all of these numbers and put them into this list randomizer. And the top 3 numbers, when I do the sorting, are going to be added to that local preference pool. We don't know if those households are going to be type 4 households, type 1 households, so it might not help your placement all that much, depending on the size of your household. But I'm going to click randomize, and it randomized those 20 numbers for me. I'm going to copy and paste this into my spreadsheet so I have the results when I am doing my sorting. So just give me a second here. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to make it a little easier to read. For all of us. And then I'm going to do the drawing itself. And so this is it's just these top 3 households here that I'm going to highlight because they're going to be moving to, they're going to be now local preference households in the drawing. All right, the general drawing. This is all 45 application numbers, lottery application numbers. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back to random.org just so we can get out of that completely and go to list randomizer. And I'm going to copy and paste all 45 application numbers. This is everyone who applied for the lottery and was approved and issued a local preference. Sorry, issued a local, keep saying local preference because I've said it so many times. But this is everyone who applied for the lottery and was issued an application number. So I'm going to copy all these numbers. I'm going to drop them into the list randomizer. And this is going to be the lottery, the drawing for Pine Ridge Estate in Uxbridge. I'm going to click randomize now. All right. So I'm going to allow you to see, obviously, the results in just a minute, but I want to get them onto the spreadsheet first because it's going to be easier for everyone to view. And just give me a second again. Make it a little bigger so everyone is able to see it. This is the drawing. This is the drawing results for Uxbridge, Pine Ridge Estates. I'm going to scroll down so you can see the 45 numbers. But as you can see here, the first number drawn was A.028, second number A.039, etc. So you can see about the top 15 on your screen right now. And I'm going to scroll down. So you should see a lottery application number somewhere here, 1 through 45. And if you don't see it, or if you've called in and you can't see a screen right now, let me know and I can check it out for you. You can put your number in the chat function or unmute yourself and ask me to find it for you. And again, this isn't the waiting list yet. I still have to put all of these results onto, or I still have to sort these results onto the waiting list in the order of priority that I just showed you in the information packet. And once I do that, the waiting list will be generated and it'll be sent over to you. I hope to do that. Well, I'm going to do that tonight. So you should receive an email from info@sebhousing.com within the next few hours at the latest. So again, this is the drawing results. I'll scroll down one more time, just in case you were in the beyond 15 there. And your number should be there. All right, so I'm going to sort the results of this drawing. And okay, question here, how do the numbers get sorted? I'm confused as to what happens next. So I'm going to show you, hold on, one question about where is 0, 2, 4? I'm not for you now. 0, 2, 4 was drawn 24th. And when I sort the results, you will, if you're saying here you were type 4, if you're a type 4 household, you're going to have a higher priority than it looks like right now. Like you don't know all that much from your order drawn placement here because we haven't sorted the results onto the waiting list. So no, this is not the waiting list. The waiting list will be sorted tonight. If you're a type 4 household, you might be, number 45 on this list, but you're not going to be number 45 on the waiting list because there are people who have a lower priority that are going to be below you, because all type 4 households are going to be on the waiting list ahead of type 3 households. 3 and 4 are going to be ahead of type 2 households, and so forth. So there's a question here, what is this list telling us? This was the lottery drawing for Uxbridge, and now the order is going to be sorted onto the waiting list, which I'm going to pull up again just so I can try to explain the best I can how they're going to be sorted. So this is the waiting list priority. I just did the lottery drawing, and now if you're a type 4 household and you were selected ahead of if you were drawn, if your lottery number is on the results from tonight ahead of any other type 4 local preference household, you're going to be first on the waiting list. But I don't know who's first on the waiting list yet because I need to go back and sort the results from tonight. So there's an order of priority that we're going by, and it's right here. The results of the drawing tonight basically are allowing us to move forward with sorting the results. So if you're the last type 4 household in your non-local preference, maybe you were selected way down the list, you're going to be still ahead of any type 3 households on the waiting list because you're going to be somewhere in here, right? If you're a non-local preference household. I know it's a little, easier or not all that easy to understand, but this is what you're going to be seeing here. I'm number 6. Does that mean that other people could be chosen instead above me? So yes, you're not going to know from these results tonight whether or not you're first on the waiting list, you're 45th on the waiting list. You're not going to know because, for example, we don't know if this person who has A.028, they were drawn first tonight, but this could be a type 1 household. So that person could end up being further down the waiting list. Will minorities still get a priority on the list as well, or just if you were selected at the first round? Yeah, just the 3 people who were drawn first here are going to have that local preference indication. But again, if these households that are moving to local preference are not, if they're type 1 households or something, they're not going to be too far up the waiting list. And then just a question, when will we hear about the results? I'm going to sort them now. So you should have an email from info. It's going to come from the email info@sebhousing.com pretty soon. I'll be sending it to everyone, not just those of you obviously who are on this call, but anyone who applied for this lottery and was approved. We have all your email addresses. Yep, and that's going to be the waiting list that is attached. So you'll have your actual placement on the waiting list when I send that email after I sort the results in just a few moments. So like I said, you should have an email from me within an hour or so. You'll know a lot more then in terms of whether or not you're going to be one of the households that is invited to the next step in the process, which is to submit your income and asset information. And if you are one of those households, you're going to get a subsequent email from my colleague who is going to be reviewing the rest of your information. And she usually gets those emails out to invite you forward the day after the lottery. So you should hear from her by Monday at the latest. Yep, so there's no winner. The question here, no one has won the lottery. This isn't the type of a lottery where like the first 6 people on the waiting list are able to purchase the home. There's still a lot of steps in the process. This is kind of just one of the steps in the process. Everyone has a wait list placement, and because we have selected everyone who applied for this lottery. Everyone has a spot on the waiting list, not just the top households. So I'm going to sort the results. And like I said, we have your email addresses from your application. So that is where you're going to receive the waiting list, and then a lot of the information that I mentioned at the top of this meeting about how many people applied, and more information on the minority drawing and all of that. So you'll have that in writing. And if you have any questions after you see the results, or any questions at all that you didn't think of tonight, you can email us at info@sdbhousing.com as well. Yep, so another question here, do the first six people on the waiting list after I do the results will be invited forward? The first 18 people are going to be invited forward. And if those top 6 households move forward in the process, meaning that they are determined to be eligible for the affordable housing program after we review their income, asset, and tax information, and if they're approved by their bank to get the mortgage commitment, and the purchase and sale goes through, and all of those other steps that need to happen between now and then, if those first 6 people are successful, then yes, they will be purchasing the homes. If any of them fall through, then people who are further down the waiting list are going to be moving forward. So the first 6 people, maybe 3 fall through, then the next 3 are going to be moving forward to the next step, and so on, until all the homes are purchased. Any other questions? I'm going to sort the results. You'll get that email soon from me, and you'll have the waiting list, which is going to tell you a lot more than the drawing that we just had tonight. All right, if there's no other questions, I will go do that now, because I know everybody's anxious to see the waiting list and whether or not you are one of the households that is at the top. So thanks for your questions and attendance, and there's a question here, just curious, the duplex in Douglas, does it also have to go to a waiting list? I'm not sure what you mean by that. If that's a separate lottery, I'm not sure if it's with SEB or not. But any lottery that we do at SEB Housing will always have a waiting list, yeah. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to sort the results now. Again, if you have any questions that you didn't think of tonight, please email us back when you get those results at info@sdbhousing.com. All right, have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.